Hi, I'm Venessa Giunta. I am an author and an editor and an all-around like to talk about things person and a little awkward sometimes. But one of my favorite things to do is talk to authors, right? I love talking to authors about their process, their writing, their careers, their marketing, all those things. And I really love just sitting down and just talking about stuff. I mean, communication is my love language. So that's really what I had in mind. I really wanted a situation where I could just have a conversation with somebody. So, and a conversation and a cocktail is really all about us hanging out and drinking together and talking about the stuff. Hello, everybody. Welcome in to a conversation and a cocktail. So glad to see you guys. There's Raven there already. Yes. Hello, Raven. And I see Anita out there. Hi, Anita. I'm also out there, but I haven't said anything because I'm right here also. Anyway, I would love to welcome our guest this month. That is Nevah Ann. Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yay, so glad you could join us. I love those covers back there, but we'll get into that in a minute. So Nevah Ann is one of the, okay, wait, should I just say Nevah or Nevah Ann? Is it all together?
It doesn't matter. Either way works.
Okay.
I have, whichever one works for you. Most people call me by the full Nevah. I say most people call me by the full Nevah Ann. Some people just call me Nevah. So,
Well, it's okay. Like, I wasn't sure if Ann is the last name or if it's the middle name or if it's part of the first name. So I just want to say it right.
It's part of the first name. So
then I will call you Nevah Ann. So thank you for the guidance. So, y'all, Nevah Ann is probably, aside from a couple Multiverse guests, probably the first person that I don't already know on the show. So I'm super excited. So yay. All right. But what I do know is that you've got a new book coming out or just came out. Yes. And you write under a couple different pen names. And I know you have a background in education or in mental health and education. Is that correct? Okay. Yes. So my first question to you and everyone, well, I'm going to do my first question first. What are you drinking? What are you drinking?
So I'm not super fancy today. I just got a plain wine cooler, strawberry daiquiri, because it's way too much work to actually make my own strawberry daiquiri, but I do prefer those over the wine cooler.
And I don't know about you're fancy. You got your own special glass and everything. So
it's not the fancy one. I've got one that's got a gold rim that I'm pretty sure the 9-year-old drank Kool-Aid out of last week. So
because the 9-year-old for sure fancy, right?
Yes, most definitely.
Yes. So I'm drinking. Well, it's funny because I'm drinking tea, but I added to my tea. I was in Bonaire in May, which is a little Caribbean island in the South Caribbean. It's a little island in the South Caribbean. It's part of the Dutch kingdom, the kingdom of the Netherlands. Yeah. But it's like every Dutch island has a distillery on it. No joke. Every Dutch island I've been to has a distillery on it. So this one, this is the one I have, and it's kind of a spice one.
Oh, okay.
This is the one I'm using. So this particular distillery makes a different flavor liqueur for each of the Dutch islands, and then one for the kingdom itself. And each one features natural, like plants that are part of the ecosystem of that particular island.
Right.
And this one is Spices of Saba. Oh. And it has like cinnamon and other things, and the type is super small, and so I can't read it. But it is very good for things like tea and things like hot chocolate and stuff like that. So I just added a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm drinking, because I'm also like lazy and not fancy. And so I'm just going to get a cup of something I'm drinking and find a liquor that goes with it.
It's a lot of work to get to make the fancy stuff.
Right? It's like, I ain't got the time for that. I'm old. I don't have that much time left here on this earth. I don't need to be wasted doing that. So yes, thank you, Raven. It's actually when they sell them individually, they're significantly bigger bottles, but they're this exact same shape. But what we got like a variety pack. So it had all 6 flavors in it in these tiny little versions of their bottles. So yeah, so it was fun. All right. So we've got that out of the way, y'all. I know you guys were just waiting, like, what are they drinking? So the next question, and really arguably the more important question, is what is your origin story? What was your oh wait, I got an echo. That was super weird. What is your radioactive spider bite into writing and publishing? How did you get started?
So actually, I started writing when I was 11. My friends and I got into this huge fight. But I was so angry with them because they all sided against me. They all said it was my fault that we got to a fight. So I went home and I wrote the true story about what happened. And I gave it to them. And they all thought it was the funniest thing in the entire world. And I'm such a comedian, and they loved it, and I should write more. And I was so angry because it was not supposed to be funny. It was supposed to be what really happened. But I loved the feedback so much that I did actually start writing. But
okay, yeah. I think that's one of the better stories that we've heard on the show, because usually it's like, oh, I've been writing since I can remember, and all the things. And you're like, I have this one specific time.
No, yeah, definitely. I wrote a nonfiction true story, and then it just spiraled from there.
Yes, your radioactive spider bite was vengeance. Really.
It was definitely vengeance.
It was vengeance. Okay, that's the best. I love that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what you write. I did notice that you write under. You've got a pen name. So the one that is taking flight, which is Kaylee Lanshaw.
Yep.
Okay, so what do you write under that name?
So that one I actually co-write with a friend of mine. And so it's my real name and her real name smashed together to make the pen name.
I love that.
And so we co-write that one together. And that's the Runes of War series. Okay. And so currently we just have the 2. They're out, but we're working on technically book 2. Because both of the books are actually book 1. And it's told from the main character. It's the same story told from the main character's different points of view. So one is told from the vampire's point of view, and one's told from the human's point of view. And you can read one of them or read them both and get like a combination of both of what happened. So we're working on books.
So cool. That is actually so cool, because now I'm nerding out about it. So like, how long are those books, the 2 points of view books?
These are our longer ones. I believe Taking Flight is 480-ish pages, and Holding Ground is, I think, like 450-ish pages. And we actually wrote it. Yeah, we actually wrote it for college. We were in creative writing class together, and our teacher was like, I need a 20-page short story. And I had this really cool idea, and I ran it by her, and she's like, I want to write that too. And so we asked if we could co-write a book together, and he said it has to be different enough that you're not like just writing the same thing and turning it in. So I told mine from my character's point of view, and she told hers from her point of view. And by the time our 20 pages were due, we had 97. So said, here's our 20-ish pages. And he goes, I only want the first 20. And we're like, yeah, but we're a little over that now. So that's actually dedicated to him, because we're like, here's our 20 plus pages for you.
I love that. That's amazing. And like, hopefully he was a good teacher.
Yes. Oh yes. He was definitely a great teacher.
Yes, and I love that, because like I feel like most of us have a teacher like that really encouraged our writing. For me, it was Miss Hembry when I guess I was in 11th grade, I think.
Mm,
And I only had her that year because I was only in that school for that
right.
year. So, but yeah, she was always really encouraging. So I really love that story. Yeah, I was gonna ask because like if they were short, I was gonna be like, please tell me you did like one of those, where you have one book on one side and then you flip it upside. But I'm like, oh yeah, no, 800 pages.
Actually,
That's not gonna work.
we do actually have a couple copies of those. It took a lot of work to get it to be a flip book. That's how we originally wanted it. The first one that we made that was successful is a hardcover flip book, and we have it upstairs signed. We have to give it to our professor, but we haven't had a chance to go see him yet. And then we printed off a couple extra ones, and we just started talking about printing them off and doing them for giveaways when we are at events and signings and stuff, because we love them so much, and that was our original idea for it. But it was a lot of money to publish them, as you can imagine, because it was over 800 pages.
Yes. So. But don't like give them all away. Like
no,
sell those because like people want that special stuff. Like I would buy that before I buy a copy of each of the book. Like I'd be like, yes, this is so cool.
Oh, definitely. We're looking back into it because we really, that's how we originally envisioned it was the flip like that. So you could see one side and then you got to the end and just flip it over and start over. And originally when we did it, the publishing cost was just too much for us to like manage it. But we've looked around and we've shopped and we found a couple smaller options that might be reasonable now. So we're hoping to get those out as we're getting the second book going. So it might show up soon.
Yes, that's so cool because and also like if you can do like maybe a collector set that has the fancy, I think so too, Joe, that has the fancy like printing on the edges.
Oh yes, the sprayed edges.
Yes, you should, because like they can even do it where like you can actually have a picture there, not just like solid or whatever. It's like that would be because like if it's gonna be expensive, give them all the bells and whistles. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yes, give it all the fancy stuff.
Yes, I love that you did the flip book because that's exactly what I thought. Yeah, if I've got 2 points of view, I'm totally gonna do a flip book like that.
Yep.
That's so cool. Yeah, I would totally buy the crap out of that. Okay, sorry. All right, so let's talk about what you write yourself. So go ahead.
So currently, I am, my book Knowing just came out. And this is a darker fantasy. There's a lot of dark themes in there, dark elements in there. I always tell people when I market it, if you have triggers, you probably don't want to read this book. It's probably in this book somewhere. Yeah. And this was one that also started off as a short story. Not for college class, though.
So many do. So many start off as short stories.
And so I wrote this one, and originally it was just going to be 3 short stories, and it became a longer book. This one is almost as long as... oh,
that's so cool.
Almost as long as Double-Edged War, but not quite. And so it's about these healers who can't heal. So the one, when he tries to heal, he actually takes people's energy from them and starts to kill them. And the other one, when he heals, he has a reminiscence of all of their injuries and all of their sicknesses that they ever had their entire lives. And it kind of goes on to him. And so they are on a quest to find why their powers are so messed up. And like I said, it's not a light and fluffy story.
No, it does not sound like a light and fluffy story.
No.
So did their powers work properly for a while, then all of a sudden got broken, or have they always been broken?
Yes, they worked properly for a while, and then for the one who takes energy away, his got broken because of trauma in his life. There was a lot of abuse from father, and so he kept holding his powers back so that father couldn't get what he wanted, which just made it so that when he went to heal, all he did was pull back the energy. And then the other one, I'm not going to spoil why his stopped working, but his stopped working as well. But yes, he did at first was able to heal. So yeah.
Yes. Well, because it makes me like, for me in my head, like it would be two entirely different stories, right? If they, right? So like, I was just curious because I'm nosy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a nosy bitch. I want to know all the things. So that sounds so fun. So it sounds to me like you primarily write in fantasy, generally speaking.
Yes, all of my books, except for the anthology that I published in first, are connected in the same world. So some of them take place in closest to this time, and then Double-Edged War takes place in a dystopian future of our world. So they all take place in the same world and on the same timeline.
Gotcha. So it's like timeline. Urban fantasy that goes into like apocalyptic or whatever.
Yep. Urban fantasy goes into like dark fantasy, goes into dystopian.
I mean, I feel like it matches. We're totally on a.
Well, so Double-Edged War was a really funny story because we published it. Well, we started writing it in 2014. And the concept was in 2020, there was a massive virus that and there was a plague and it was really horrible. And then they got over that.
And then it happened. It's your fault.
Right? We always tell people that we're really sorry. We didn't mean to predict the future. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
And then a few years later, there is a political dispute and there's a civil war and the world goes into chaos and goes into battle with each other. And we have an economic crash. And
girl, why you got to do this to us? What is your problem?
So 2020 hit and the pandemic hit. And I call my friend and I'm like, we didn't write this into existence, did we? And she's like, I don't think we did. And I'm like, okay, I'm just saying, if we did, we're gonna have people hunting us down. And then like the politics all started happening and like the economy, and I'm like, all right, look, I'm starting to think that we need to go hunt down some of these cities that we created and go live somewhere a little nicer.
Yeah. And then you wrote a dark fantasy to go after it. So it's like, thanks, Nevah Ann.
I'm sorry.
Now, please tell me the next one is going to be like fluffy unicorns and things. Like that has to be the next one.
Well, it doesn't get better for a while, but it does get better. It does get better.
Okay. God. I'm going to be dead by then.
Probably. I will be too, and I'll be very sad. But I'll leave a map for my kids to tell them where to go to be safe.
Excellent. I mean, I hope your kids share it with other people. That would be nice.
Yes, please share this with people that you love and want to protect.
Like, nope, screw everybody else. I'm out of here, man. Screw that. So, oh man, yeah, that sounds fun. I mean, it sounds awful because we're living it, but it also sounds fun. But I mean, I think as writers, we can be like, because we have to look at the way people work and we have to look at what things lead to what other things. Like I was reading back in 2023, I was on an Olivia Butler kick, and I was reading a whole bunch of Olivia Butler. And I read Parable of the Sower.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've read it or not.
I have heard, but I've not read it yet.
Yeah, and like in the last year or so, people have been really talking about it, because when I was reading it, I would like tell my husband, I was listening to an audiobook, so I'd go out and drive and I'd listen to it. I was like, oh my God. Like, she's talking about Donald Trump. Oh my God. And she wrote it in like 1993. So it's obviously not about Donald Trump. But it's just like, it is very like, it is unnerving how accurate and similar the world that she created is to what has been happening with us.
Right.
So I feel like that is not uncommon for writers, because we are also, generally speaking, forward viewing, right? We are looking forward, even if you're writing historical and stuff. In my opinion, as writers, we're trying to make the world better.
Mm-hmm.
In whatever way, if that means giving somebody a fluffy bunny beach read, then that's making the world a better place.
Right.
If we're trying to write something super heavy and serious that deals with social issues or deals with, mental health issues or whatever, that is also trying to make the world a better place,
Right.
And so I feel like it's not that uncommon for writers to unintentionally hit on things that happen in the future, right?
Right. Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. But I also feel like in your shoes, I probably would have freaked the fuck out.
Well, when we were talking about it, we're like, this is never going to happen. There's going to be a pandemic. There's not going to be an economic collapse. The United States isn't going to sell states off to other people. And then like stuff starts happening and we're like, well, this is not as far-fetched as we thought, I guess.
I mean, you should like put a character in there that's you and have them like hit the lottery and just see
right?
what happens.
Anyway. Right, exactly. And then she went to the store and she got a lottery ticket and she won. It was so great.
Yes. It doesn't necessarily even have to be the main character. It can be somebody the main character runs into, like somebody who's out there helping people and they've got a lot of money. And she's like, where'd you get all your money? And they're like, oh, honey, I hit the lottery. I was writing my books and then I hit the lottery. And then like, that's your spirit.
Exactly.
So we'll see. We'll see. Because if you end up manifesting that, I'll be like, I'm going to hire you. I want you to write me a book. You and your friend write me a book.
Just put me in it. This is what needs to happen.
Yes. I mean, you can do whatever else you want with the rest of the plot, but this is my piece that I want to happen. I will pay dollars. That is hilarious, though. All right. So, in talking about the new book, Knowing,
yes.
You were talking about how, like, you touched on the fact that one of the main characters has trauma, right? And I think that then relates to your background. Is that correct?
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about your background.
So I have a associate's degree in mental health, specializing in child development, with a focus on trauma. And then in December, I will graduate with my bachelor's degree in early childhood education with a minor in psychology. I teach technically 3 trauma classes.
Nice.
And I've always just had a fascination since probably long before I started writing, just with trauma and the way like the mind works and the way that people are so resilient to things that happen to them, but then the way that something can happen to a group of people and they all experience it differently. So then they all see it differently. And so when I started writing, that was a huge theme in all of my stuff, even before I hit fantasy, was just these people who have these trauma backgrounds who then have to rebuild their lives from this trauma, or they have to like now live with the trauma that they have and exist and be able to survive. And survival was always a huge theme of mine. And many of them do. There's a couple stories that I've written that they do not survive. But in real life, that's also how it works too. There's not always happy endings in trauma. So a few of mine have, but I really like to show that there is a way to survive trauma. So a lot of them do have that. They'll eventually survive trauma. They'll get to a baseline where they can be okay and they can continue forward and live with the trauma and not have it control them.
And I think there's such a range too, right? Like obviously there are people who do not survive the mental impact of their trauma.
Right.
And then everybody else survives, but then how well they do, like there's a huge range, right? There are people who eventually actively work, try to work with their mind and they're, getting through the trauma, the processing of the trauma in order to have it affect their lives less. And then there are people all the way through a spectrum to the other side who don't ever deal with their trauma at all. Right. And so and I feel like that gives you, and that's all of us, honest to God, every single human being has trauma to some degree. You cannot get through life without being completely traumatized.
Right.
So I think that that's so fascinating because that gives you just such a field to play with. It's so interesting. So do you, when you write, I'd love to talk to you about your writing process a little bit, if
Sure.
that's, so when you write, what do you usually come up with first? For because I know for a lot of people come up with a character, a lot of people come up with a situation, some people will come up with a title. So how do you have a typical way that you get your ideas? Like you start with your ideas, or does it just whatever?
Mine are usually character based.
Mhm.
I typically will see a character. Usually they have some form of trauma that I have seen in my experience in my career with children and working with other people. And so I will see a trait of them in one of the characters. And then I will kind of build off of that. All of my characters have extensive backstories, including the ones that like you see on page like 57 for like 2 seconds. That character probably has a name and an entire back history. Just because I'm very character driven. And so I have files upon files upon files of characters who all have stories that are just kind of waiting to be written. And I have to kind of focus and narrow. But I tend to write character mostly. You're not the cat I thought would come see me. Hello. Um, this is
Let's see.
this is Dad's cat. So this is Cece.
Oh, sweet baby.
She doesn't normally sit with me, so I'm wondering if she's over here because she thought I was Dad.
Probably. She's like, wait a minute. You're not the person who's supposed to be sitting here.
Right. This is not the right chair. Hold on. But they're all character driven for the most part. And so then I put them in a situation and then I kind of see based on their personality how they survive that situation. Typically, I kind of have it all mapped out in my head, but I have a couple characters who will throw me for a curveball and I will write something and be like, wait, this is not what I expected to happen. Okay, then. And then I kind of have to reshift my thinking of what's going to happen in the story.
I feel like that happens to all of us. I feel like that happens to all of us. But I love that because I think that's really interesting because it seems like your characters kind of spring up with their trauma already. Yep. Which I think is so interesting because I know for me, I often get a character first, or I'll get like a scenario and a character or characters together, kind of all at once. I never get a story. I get like this one little, and I'm just like, come on. Now what do I do? Like, how did we get here? How do we get past here? I don't know what's happening right now.
How do I even get to this page? This is like page 72. What happened 1 through 71?
Right, exactly. You understand my pain. But for me, when I come up with characters, it's really interesting because I don't like they don't come fully formed to me. I have to kind of like they have traits, but like I have to figure that out as I go. Right, I have to ask them, okay, well, what's their background like, and then I do actually look for where they would get trauma because I feel like that informs so much of our lives, and I mean, so many of us trauma bond and we, but like our trauma informs how we interact with the world. Right. Of course.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And but I've got to figure that out about my character. Sometimes I know what their trauma response is, but I don't know what the trauma is. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Do you ever have that situation where you don't necessarily know what the trauma is, but you can see the patterns?
Every so often. I had one character that I wrote for my original series, which I'm going back to and I'm working on currently. And for the longest time, I just knew that when like this situation happened, he responded this way. And when this situation happened, he responded this way. And I, for the life of me, could never figure out why. I'm like, but that's an odd way to react to something. And it took a pretty good chunk of time writing his story and writing him in the story to realize, oh, this happened to him when he was younger. I see now. But it doesn't happen as often as I think it should. It's very rarely when it happens. But when it does, it definitely throws me for a loop because I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
I don't understand what's going on right now.
Right?
I mean, I feel like that's my life. don't know what's happening anymore. I love that. So, all right. So all of your, with the exception of the anthology you mentioned, all of your books are sort of related in some way. Like they all live in the same world.
Yep.
So did you envision, and I get the impression it's like multiple books that maybe aren't telling the same story. Is that correct? Or
yep. They follow different characters at different points of the timeline.
Gotcha. So did you come up with that idea before you started writing them? Or whatever. So I'll just leave the question there. I don't need to get, it's not multiple choice. You get to answer whatever you're going to answer.
So when I first started in this world, I started with a character called Ace, and he was a 15-year-old who had no memory of his past. And so he was the start of it. And it was going to be 3 books, and one was his point of view. And then the next book was in a town that was in the same general area, but from a completely different point of view. Knew nothing about this character. And then the third one was those two getting together. And that has kind of shifted slightly. It's still going to be the 3 books, but the point behind them has kind of shifted slightly. And then when I wrote Runes of War with my friend, and I co-wrote Double-Edged War, we were talking about how, if the economy I'm working on right now crashed, this is what would happen. And she's like, well, then why don't we just put this in the same world? And I was like, I guess we could do that. And it's so far enough into the future that it made sense to do it that way. And so we kind of made that one. So now I always say that there's 2 key points of the timeline, and everything else just kind of revolves around those 2 key points. There's the crash and the war, and the vampires and the supernaturals coming out saying, hey, we are here, and now we're purchasing states. And so then the vampires have their own state, and the humans oh, hey, wait, there's vampires. And there's that when the largest slave trade of supernaturals falls, and the kingdoms are safe and we're free, and they decide how they're going to coexist and survive without humans realizing that they're there, and keeping themselves hidden. And so those are the 2 key points on the timeline, and everything else just kind of happens around those 2 key points.
Interesting. And I was thinking, so the vampires have their own states.
Yep.
And by that, do you mean country, or do you mean state in the U.S.?
So in Double-Edged War, the Civil War happened, and the economy crashed, and we went into another Great Depression, worse than the first one. And so the United States was we need to get back some of this money, so we're going to sell off our states. So they start off selling Alaska to Canada, and they sell Texas to a third-party Mexican company who is a cartel, because that the cartels would buy Texas.
Yeah, they would.
And so it starts off that way. Well, then there's an auction on the state, and the people keep bidding, and finally the auction sells, and it's the vampires. And the vampires are we're here, and we have bought this state, and this is where we live now. Well, then the dragons come out, and they buy a state, and witches come out, and they buy a state.
Oh my God, that's fabulous.
And so each of the states have supernaturals that live there, and it's their own states, and it's their own little country right in the middle of the United States. And then they have to show, just because we're dragons does not mean that we're going to eat all the humans. We can coexist with you. And the humans go, whoa, this is not what we signed up for.
See, the thing is, I'd be more likely to visit the dragon state than I would the vampire state as a human. I mean, not me personally, because I would totally visit the vampire state because, yes. But, other humans who are not like me. I would feel Texas tourism would just right in the toilet. Oh, what would be great is if the vampires took over Florida, because then people have to decide if they're willing to risk the vampires to go to Disney.
Right? Do we want Disney and vampires?
Right.
Or
I feel like that would be like an existential crisis for them.
right?
I really do. I really, really do. That would be hilarious, though. I love that. Oh my God, that's so funny. You know what? You know what would be really cool? You could like publish an anthology, like with other authors. I'm not sure if your first anthology is an anthology or a collection.
Anthology.
Okay, so you've done an anthology before with other authors.
Oh yes.
So I think it would be super cool to do that and like let people pick a state they're going to write a story in of that. I mean, that would be so cool. I would be down.
That would be
like,
neat.
let me know. Right? That would be so cool. You know, have a couple that are from human states, maybe one of the human states that borders one of the supernatural states. Right. And, you know, they could write a story about, I don't know, whatever the fuck they want. But like, you know, have a couple of people who have a vampire stories, a couple of people who have like dragon stories, a couple of people who have werewolf stories or whatever else you have. I don't know what you have.
Right.
That would be such a fun anthology. That would be awesome. Fun. All right. So much fun. So if you do that, definitely let us know because we'll get the word out for you.
Yes, I will talk to my co-author about that one and I'll see what she thinks. I love the idea. I think that's great.
I think that would be so fun. And, you know, silly and fun. And,
right?
You know,
oh, yeah.
So yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm getting all caught up in my brain. Ravens. Sounds to me like Nevah Ann, Venessa's volunteer. That is not what I said. That is not what I said, Mr. Compton. And you, of all people, should not be volunteering me for extra shit. Goober. Like, Joe knows my schedule. I didn't talk to him for like 3 days, and he finally sent me a text. He's like, "Are you okay?" Because I hadn't responded to any Facebook messages. And I was just like, yes, I got overwhelmed by all the messages I have on all the platforms, and so I'm ignoring them all because that helps.
If I ignore them, they will disappear. It will be fine.
Right? Right? Everyone will, everyone will figure out what they needed me for, and I won't have to do anything.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. I told Raven that. I was like, sorry, my bad. My bad. I just couldn't do it this past weekend. I was just like ignoring everybody. And, you know, and so anyway. All right. Okay, what were we talking about? Okay, so you've got that anthology that I am not editing. And you like, if you end up doing that, you let me know and we'll get the word out and you can get like people on board. So, all right. Now I've completely lost my train of thought and I forgot what I was even going to ask. I remember because I wrote it down. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about your background in mental health, your background in young childhood education. So, and you've touched on this already, but how does that educational background actually inform your writing? Like, do you find that it informs your writing in a significant way?
I think so. I think all of the stuff that I have read and all the stuff that I've learned and all the classes I've taken and even all of the classes that I teach and the parents I meet, I hear like a ton of stories and a bunch of like, well, I know the book says this, but this is how my situation was. And it always gives me a lot of information to kind of then put into my book so they feel realistic. So it doesn't feel like it's so like, this definitely came because she read through like 2 textbooks and is like, oh yes, I know how to write this. Like I've experienced a lot of people who have done been through some of this stuff. And I've experienced a lot of like that firsthand from stories. And so I kind of build all that into it. So I could be like, this is what the book says, but sometimes it manifests like this. And so this is how it's going to manifest for this character. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I could see how it can turn out like this. And I'm like, yeah, definitely.
So I have all these ideas. I'm sorry. Feel free to take what you find interesting and just like tell the rest of it. So like, do you, and maybe you already do this, but it occurs to me that especially because you do have that educational background of those particular things, is that it would be really cool to have like a little like mental health, like I don't know, diagnostic page or something like that. Not diagnostic, that's not the right word, but I'll describe what I'm envisioning and then maybe you have a better word for it. But it's like, so and so character has such and such trauma, which often manifests in X way, and obviously at the end of the book, which often manifests in X way, but can also manifest in Y way, which is the way I chose to have it manifest. And that would be really interesting.
That would be kind of cool. I have plenty of characters I can explain all of that to them.
And I think that and also I would find that interesting too, because especially trauma board, there you go. Especially if we all have our own experiences with our own trauma.
Right.
And if I had a similar experience, but that affected me in a different way, if I'm reading it, I'll be like, that doesn't make sense to me. That's not how that works. Right. But if I get to the end and then you say, hey, so this trauma often but in this case, but it also manifests in and the reasons I chose this is because XYZ, I'd be like, oh, that's fascinating.
Right.
That'd be fun. Do what you want, but I think that would be cool. I'm a big nerd.
Neat. To be able to see and there's a couple of characters who have experienced very similar traumas that have completely different reactions to them.
Yes.
And so in knowing they both go through a lot of abuse and a lot of neglect, and one of them shuts down and becomes mute and she won't talk. And the other one becomes very reactive and very protective and very forceful sometimes. And so they've experienced very similar traumas, but they've manifested in two completely different ways.
Yes.
It would be nice to kind of show that this is how it could be.
Yeah. And you can even do a little companion book that goes with it that has all of that cool information in it. But I agree with you too. You see that often in children from abused homes. You see especially the older ones are often the protector of the younger ones,
right?
Quite frankly, or sometimes the boy is the protector of the younger ones, regardless of where he falls in the age thing. So I absolutely agree. I totally see what you mean, how people can go through the same trauma and it manifests. It can manifest. They can have some of the same things, but then have lots of other things that are different, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's so cool. I love that. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep inundating you with ideas. I don't usually do this during this show, but it's just I'm super fascinated by all this. Because I'm also very big into obviously mental health, but I've been doing a lot of self-work for a couple decades now, right? On various things, and shadow work and stuff like that.
Right.
And so I find human beings and their behavior patterns completely fascinating.
Oh yes, definitely.
And always have, right? So I did not go into, I never took any psych classes or anything like that, but I'm very good at reading people and stuff, and so I really find all the stuff we're talking about super fascinating also. So that's why I'm just tossing these ideas out at you. You don't have to take any of them. I will not be at all offended if you don't take any of these ideas. So, all right. Let's see, what else? You ever do any conventions? I'm huge into conventions. I've always asked this. I always like to know this. I can just see your faces, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, your mic cut out, so I heard the first part, and then nothing, and then the last part.
Okay, so let me just repeat. I was asking if you do conventions, if you go to conventions, attend conventions. Thank you, Raven said. Raven's she's yes, what she said. That's what happened. Okay, so do you sell at conventions? Do you attend conventions? Do you guest at conventions? Do you do any of that kind of stuff?
I do. I used to only go to like 2 or 3 events. This year I have been at way more than I have probably been at my entire life. And so I had 1 in April, and then I had 2 in June. I've got 1 in 2 weeks. I got 1 in August. I've got 1 in November. So I've kind of booked myself up a little bit. It's a little, the 2 in June was a very poor choice because the first weekend it was a Saturday, Sunday event. And then the following weekend was a Saturday event, 2.5 hours away from our house. So that was lots of fun. And then we had the huge heat wave for the 2-day event, and it was outside. And so we text the people and we're like, hey, so we're in a heat advisory. It's supposed to be like 100-something degrees. Are we still doing this? They're like, yeah, we're good. I'm like, and if you're sure. So me and my co-author drove down there, and luckily it was not far from our house. And we got there to set up, and it was downpouring. Like, we were outside in the grass, and it's just downpouring. And I'm like, this looks like a great way to set up a tent. So us and like 12 other vendors who decide they're going to go brave the rain went and set up in the downpouring rain. And then the rain stopped, and it got super hot. And we were supposed to be there until 6 o'clock. And by 3, we were one of the like 2 tents left standing. And the event coordinator is like, it's really, really hot outside. We think maybe we should let you guys go home early. And we're like, so weird.
Gosh, who could have predicted that?
Right? And it was supposed to be even hotter on Sunday. So they messaged us like 2 hours later, and they're like, yeah, so we're going to cancel for Sunday because it's just going to be way too hot. Make you guys sit through that. And we're like, so weird. And then they're like, we can't refund you for that second day, though. We spent the money. We're like, thanks for that. So luckily, we were chatting with a couple friends of ours. And the people who are hosting the event I'm going to in August was like, hey, we have an empty table. Do you want to come do a pop-up sale at our shop today? And so we set up shop inside of their store, and we did a little pop-up event. And they were super friendly to us and super great. And they're like, we can't wait to see you again in August. And we're like, yeah, we can't wait to see you in August either. So yay! And just one of them got shifted indoor. And the other one was a little rainy, but it was still fun. We met some really great people. And then we had one vendor who was running around telling people in the rain, just think, this could be worse. It could be thundering and lightning. And then like this giant lightning struck hit. And he's like, just think, it could rain money. I like, maybe, no, I'm just going to leave now. And we're like,
See, that's the way to go. It's like, hey, if you're going to be predictive, try to predict something good.
Exactly. Like,
that's hilarious. Yeah, vending outside in the heat is awful. Yeah,
I've got one in July outside. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, last summer I did several pop-up events in the summer, and I live in Georgia.
Oh,
so yeah. It is rough.
Yep.
It is rough because it's also super humid.
Oh, yes.
And so you walk outside and it's like walking into a hot, wet blanket. It's awesome. Yeah, right. It's like, if you're going to summon weather, summon good weather.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Or money.
Yes.
Right. Good weather or money. It's fine.
Rain some cash right now.
That's right. Rain some cash, baby. Rain some cash. So the next one you're doing is, you said August, next month?
I've got one in 2 weeks.
That's right.
Also outside, but I got strong fingers for this one not being so hot. And I have one in August that will be inside, luckily. And then hopefully I've got one in November. I always do one in November, but sign up's not until October, so I can't confirm for sure that I've got the November spot, but I've been doing it for the last 3 years, so it's a pretty high probability. And that one's also inside because it's November, and that would just be silly for us to be outside. By then it's going to be like 10 feet of snow. We're in Michigan.
Yes, that is not, just like summers in Georgia, you should not be vending outside. Winters in Michigan, you should not be vending outside.
Yeah, definitely.
So, unless you're selling Christmas trees.
Exactly.
That's your thing. Just never say it's raining cats and dogs, the horror. There's actually a story, like the actual etymology of that phrase is really interesting. I cannot remember it now because I probably learned it like 20 years ago, and that particular part of my memory has already been overwritten. So I don't remember, but go look it up. If I'm remembering correctly, it was very interesting how that phrase came about. Or frogs, the biblical horror. Let's not do locusts, especially.
Right.
If you have frogs, then swarms of locusts. Because
yeah, maybe not.
Like cicada, and those are so gross.
Oh, most definitely.
Oh my gosh, it's awful. I was in Chicago when the 17-year swarm was happening.
Oh,
Not
no.
the most recent one, but the one before that. Man, it was so bad. And I don't know if you noticed, but I got curly hair. And you know, those little bugs, their legs are like they've got spines.
Yeah.
Which means if they get caught in something like hair, you cannot get them out. And it is the grossest because their legs catch on your hair. It's awful. So I'm terrified of any of those kind of, like, I see them and I'm running. I'm like running. So
right.
It's awful. Okay. Sorry, that's my trauma, right? Nightmare fuel. Yes. Exactly. Wait, I'm going to Chicago in September. Should I get a beach? Now you can probably use something with way bigger holes because those fucking things are huge.
Oh, they're huge. Yes.
They're huge. They're like giant, weird sounding. I don't even know. They're not cockroaches because that's not what they look like. But
no, but they're definitely some weird creatures.
Yeah, they're like these great big grasshoppers with short legs and wings.
Yep.
That's kind of what they are. And they're just, yuck.
And they make some interesting noises.
Yeah, but like, and it's fine that when you first hear it, it's like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. But then if it's the only sound for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours for days, it's just like noise canceling headphones.
Right.
Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to talk about bugs, y'all. But you know what you get. Those of you who like Anita, right? But they know what they get. Joe, you know, anybody else out there who watches this later, they know what they get with me. They know. We just go off on all kinds of tangents. So, do you enjoy doing, like, aside from like heat and stuff like that, but do you enjoy doing those kind of things?
Oh, yes. My first event, I spent the whole time sitting in the chair, hiding behind my display, hoping no one would speak to me. And the writer that I was with from my writers group was like, "You're not going to sell anything this way." And I was like, "I have to talk to them." And they're like, "Yeah, you talk to people all the time. It's part of your job. You can't talk to them." I was like, "No." Like, I don't think I can do that. But I've gotten a lot better. I definitely love to meet people. I always tell my friend that I co-write with, we typically do events together. So I always tell her, you pitch my stuff, I'll pitch yours, because I'm horrible at pitching my own stuff, but I could pitch hers all day long. And so we typically, like, someone will come up and be like, "Oh, did you write all this?" I'll be like, "Well, I wrote this here. And then my friend wrote this. Let me tell you all about it." And then she goes, "Yeah. And so I wrote this. And she wrote this. Let me tell you all about it." And then we kind of pitch each other's stuff. I mean, when I'm doing it on my own, it becomes harder because I have to pitch my own stuff. And then I have to be like, "Well, I wrote this."
Yes. It is always easier to pitch somebody else's stuff. Oh, it always is. Yeah, I've got an event this weekend at it's Atlanta Comic-Con. So it is like this gigantic, you know, dealer room, basically. Right. It's just like this huge convention center that's just all dealer room and celebrities and food. Like, that's it.
Right.
And it's exhausting, but it is always fun. But I also run a writerly support and education group, and we've got about almost 900 people in this group, but a big group of us is vending together, like 13 or 14 of us together. And so we got 2 of the big booths, so they're putting them together. So we're going to have a giant island that's just all of us. And we, like, that's one of the things we do. We cross sell each other, because if somebody doesn't like urban fantasy, but you know, they do like science fiction, I can point them in the direction of a different author.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know, or if they're looking for romance, she's over there. Go read We're Shifters, right? Yeah. So yeah, cross selling is so much easier than selling your own stuff. But I did find that it became a lot easier I don't have a problem talking to people like ever, but unless I find them intimidating, then yes, that I have problems. But I did find that, but I'm not a natural salesperson. Like I hate selling stuff. But I found that it became easier once I like locked my pitch down. Once I knew what my pitch was, right? Do you find that as well?
I think so.
Or yeah.
So I know like my book Mine, I have my pitch for this one is very simplistic. So it's this one here. And so I always just say, it's strip assassins. And they're like, it's what? And I'm like, strip assassins, strippers who are assassins. And they're like, huh. Yep. And I was like, yep, that's it. That's the whole pitch.
Yep. And that's like perfect. Like that's perfect because that's what, so we had, with this writers group I run on Sunday evenings, we have a discussion. And this week, everybody votes during the week on topics that have been suggested. And then right before the thing, I announced which topic won. Right. And yesterday's topic was actually creating pitches, whether for agents and editors or sales pitches. So it was really like, and that's one of the things we talked about. It's like, you can go by the formula of, character does this in order to avoid that or to accomplish X in order to save whatever, you can totally do that. But you can also do other things like have this really cool thing that makes people go, wait, what? So like my opening line is, I write vampire, not vampire books.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See?
And people are like, oh, vampire. Wait, what? Like what do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean not vampires? Yes. It's like, because, and then I'm like, my vampires are not undead humans. They're not undead at all. They're alive. They're very long lived, very hard to kill. Right. And so like, it gives me an opportunity to explain to them, which is exactly why when you say strip assassins, they're like, what? Strippers who are assassins. All right, I'm on board. So so we were talking about a friend of ours named Bob Magoo, and his pitch, which everybody who's ever vended with him has his pitch memorized in the first 30 minutes. It is, he writes about a redneck wizard with a crippling meth addiction. Because you're with it, okay, redneck wizard, I can go with that. Okay, but you get to the meth addiction and people are like, wait, what? That's what you need. You need the wait what? The wait what, right?
Yep.
Yes. So, all right. Well, we're just about done. Our hour's almost up. We will have all of your links and stuff down in the show notes. So, but why don't you let folks know like where they can find you? What, like if you're active on social media, where are you? Tell us where you are.
So I have my website, which is just authornevahann.com. I post weekly blogs, and it does start like from where my origin story started, and I'm kind of working my way up through where I'm at now, sprinkled in with some book reviews and some updates. There's some sneak peeks on there, a couple extra bonus stories. I'm on Facebook at Author Nevah Ann as well. And I get lots of, usually get some cute cat pictures because when I'm writing, I'll have my companion who just plops in my lap and goes, hey, here I am. So get some random cute cat pictures of the writing buddy. And then you'll get some updates and stuff like that about things I'm doing, some promotions. I'm on Instagram, also with Author Nevah Ann. And then I just recently joined TikTok because I was informed that was a thing I needed. And my 17-year-old was like, let me just help you with the TikToks, Mom. And I'm like, thanks.
That's a way to do it. I wish I had kids for that.
Yes, the videos on my TikToks are both made for my oldest. And so they are my TikToks support there. Because I have not quite, TikTok is one I have not quite figured out yet. But they're helping me along with it. And they're like, it's very simple. Let me just show you. And then they do things. I'm like, I thought I was techie, and nope, I definitely have no idea what you just did.
Yeah. I'm like that with so many things now. Like I was a full ass adult before the internet was available. So like I learned from the beginning. You know, I understood HTML. I understand this. I understand that. I do not understand some of these other things now. I am very old at this point.
See, I have no excuse. I grew up, and in my middle school and high school, I had to take computer classes and typing classes because the internet was just starting to become big and huge. And so then, like, I grew up like, this is how you do this, and this is what you do, and let us teach you as you're in school. And so I'm like, I have no excuses. And now I'm like, I have no idea what this platform is and how to use it. And
we have one of our members in the group I was talking about who she is probably around your age, and she's also very like analytical when it comes to learning how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's sort of a bookkeeper by trade, and so she's very, you know, and so she's like being super. She's like testing things. She's like, okay, I have like 6 followers, and I got 3 views on the last video. So let's try something different. And she'll do a thing. And then she's like, okay, I got 35 views on that one. And so like, she's just doing all this. And we get these little updates when we see her online. And she's like, yeah, and I got 100 views last week. And we're like, go, good job. Yeah, I don't. And it's funny because, you know, you and I have a mutual in Raven.
Right.
And I'm like, Raven, if I give you a bunch of videos, will you just put them on the TikTok thing? And she's like, sure.
That happens a lot with me too. I'm like, so Raven,
yes.
and how do I do this? And she's like, yeah, Tiffany. And I'm like, yes, thanks. I love you so much.
Yes. Yes. I'm like, here, can you do the thing for me?
I'm pretty sure she's tried to explain to me how to do it once or twice. And I'm like, yes, I totally have it. And then I do it. And I'm like, right? And she's like, I'll just go fix it for you. And I'm like, yes, I'm sorry. I followed your instructions. I promise I mostly did.
I'm sorry I broke it and you have to fix it, but thank you. Right. She does love it though.
She does.
Yes. Yes. So, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here with us and being so open and just like connecting. This was so much fun. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, you don't have to say yes. That wasn't like, it's like, sure. Okay. So anyway, I mean, maybe I'll come back someday, but probably not. No, okay. I'm kidding. All right. So everybody who's out there, if you haven't already, please remember to like and subscribe and comment and all the things. If you're watching this later, do that too. So, and always remember, it's always time to go indie now.